before he became the face of genius. Albert Einstein was a quiet patent clerk with wild ideas no one believed in. Born in 1879 in Ulm, Germany, Einstein didn't speak fluently until he was nearly 4. Teachers said he was slow, rigid, a daydreamer. But inside that silence, something powerful was forming. A deep, unstoppable curiosity. In 1905, while working at the Swiss Patent Office, Einstein published 4 papers that would change everything. One explained Brownian motion, another proved the existence of atoms, a third described the photoelectric effect, showing that light comes in particles, not just waves. And the fourth? It introduced special relativity, rewriting how we understand space and time, all in 1 year. It became known as Einstein's Annus Mirabilis, his miracle year. But recognition didn't come fast. The scientific community resisted. Relativity sounded like science fiction. Einstein kept working. He developed general relativity, showing that gravity isn't a force. It's the warping of space-time itself. He predicted that light bends around massive objects, a theory confirmed in 1919 during a solar eclipse. And just like that, Einstein became a global icon. But fame never changed him. He spoke out against war, fascism, and racial injustice. He fled Nazi Germany. He warned of the atomic bomb, and later regretted the role he played in its development. Through it all, Einstein kept chasing one dream, a unified theory that would combine gravity with quantum mechanics. He never found it, and ironically, he won the Nobel Prize not for relativity, but for the photoelectric effect, one of those early 1905 papers. The one that proved light behaves as both wave and particle. He wasn't awarded for bending space-time, but for helping us see that even light refuses to be one thing. Einstein died in 1955, but his ideas are everywhere, from the GPS in your phone to the quantum theories reshaping our future. He taught us that imagination is more important than knowledge, that questioning everything is a kind of wisdom, and that time is relative. Albert Einstein didn't just explain the universe. He reimagined our place in it. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. Albert Einstein.
3 letters, 1 equal sign, and an idea that changed how we understand everything. E, mc², the most famous equation in history. But what does it actually mean? Let's start simple. E is energy, m is mass, c is the speed of light, squared. What Einstein discovered is that mass and energy are 2 sides of the same coin. They're not separate, they're interchangeable. Even a tiny amount of mass contains an enormous amount of energy, because c2, the speed of light squared, is a huge number. This wasn't just a cool concept, it was revolutionary. Einstein first proposed it in 1905. The same year he published his theory of special relativity. Before that, no one imagined that matter could become energy, or energy could become matter. But this equation said it could. It meant that the sun shines because hydrogen atoms fuse together, lose mass, and release energy. It meant that every atom, every particle, holds the power of a star. And eventually, it meant the atom bomb. Because in 1945, the world watched that energy unleashed, not in theory, but in fire. When atoms split in nuclear fission, a sliver of mass disappears and transforms into an explosion of energy, just as Einstein predicted. But E, Docker mc² isn't about destruction. It's about unity. It tells us that everything, matter, energy, light, is connected. It tells us that the universe isn't made of separate things, but of transformations. It's why particle accelerators work. It's why nuclear power exists. It's why we know stars can live and die. And it all came from a quiet idea scribbled on a notebook by a 26-year-old patent clerk in 1905. Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." But E, mc², that was both. a burst of imagination, and the knowledge that would power a century. Story brought to light by Kevin Brown. Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein didn't build the bomb. He never worked on the Manhattan Project, but without him, it might never have happened. This story doesn't begin in a lab. It begins with a letter. In 1939, two physicists, Leo Szilard and Eugene Wigner, approached Einstein with urgent news. Nazi Germany might be trying to build an atomic bomb. They had fled fascist Europe. They knew what Hitler was capable of, and they feared the worst. Einstein was famous, respected, and unlike them, had the ear of the US president. So they asked him to sign a letter, a warning. That letter, sent to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, urged the US government to take the threat seriously and begin atomic research of its own. That letter worked. It sparked interest, then funding, and eventually led to the birth of the Manhattan Project, the top-secret US program that built the first nuclear weapons. But Einstein? He was never invited in. The US government considered him too much of a pacifist and too much of a risk. Instead, the project was led by scientists like Robert Oppenheimer, Enrico Fermi, Niels Bohr, and Edward Teller. Thousands worked in secrecy across labs in Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, and beyond. By 1945, the bomb was real, and in August, 2 of them were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing over 100,000 people. The war ended. But a new world had begun, one defined by atomic fear. And Einstein? He was devastated. Though he hadn't built the bomb, he had helped ignite the idea. And for the rest of his life, he tried to undo the chain reaction he helped start. He became an outspoken advocate for nuclear disarmament. He warned of the dangers of unchecked power. And he famously said, "Had I known that the Germans would not succeed in developing an atomic bomb, I would have never lifted a finger." Einstein never saw the bomb as a victory. He saw it as a failure of humanity, a moment when science outpaced wisdom. He once believed that knowledge could save us. But now he knew, without conscience, even the brightest minds can cast the darkest shadows. Albert Einstein didn't create the bomb, but he helped create the world that made it possible. And he spent the rest of his life trying to make sure we'd never use it again. Our task must be to free ourselves, by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures. Albert Einstein.